Sometimes when I'm out and about, not actually looking for a plant in particular, but I come across one which I've never seen before. And that was the case with this lovely little Kniphofia called Poco Citron. Kniphofias are red hot pokers, and I don't usually like red hot pokers. I don't like the oranges and the reds and those sorts of colours, but this variety Citron really caught my eye. It's got a lime green coloured flower which starts opening at the base and opens up towards the tip, and it's really generous in its flowering performance. This little plant has already got about a dozen flower spikes on it, some fully open like this one at the front, but others still quite small and dainty, meaning I'm going to get that continuous display of colour week after week after week. And Citron should start flowering around about July time, continue through August into September. Once the flowers have finished and they're faded, I'm going to cut the flower spikes off right down at the base, and hopefully I'll get a further succession of blooms developing. Gives you a good long flowering season, and being short and compact, this series of Poco varieties of Kniphofia should be perfect in patio pots too. Now this has only grown to about 40-45 centimetres in height, about 15-16 inches high, so really good in a pot, good on a patio, or perhaps towards the front of the border where you can set it off against darker foliage or darker coloured plants to really show off these beautiful lime green flowers at their very best. Now these plants are hardy perennials, which means they'll come back every year. The foliage will die back in winter, and in the spring I'll just make sure I've cut everything off at the base to make room for the new leafy growth to develop. This will develop through spring, and by the middle of summer you'll start seeing the first flower spikes develop, and then these will be opening up in the middle of summer to give you that display which takes you through from the middle to the end of summer, perhaps even into early autumn as well. And they love a really sunny position. Not shade, they can grow in part shade, but they might not flower as well. So if you can, a really good warm sunny position to make sure you encourage the best flowering performance. I really hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel at Adam's Gardening Guides. Thank you. And if you like the look of Poco Citron, then there's some other dwarf compact varieties in this range, including a Poco Yellow, an orange, a red, and a Sunset, which has a sort of bi-coloured bloom. So perhaps you could get a companion for your plant. Otherwise, I think in my displays, Poco Citron is just what I've been looking for. Now I do grow lots of things in patio pots, everything from bedding plants to succulents to alpines to shrubs and climbers, but maybe this little red hot poker could be something else I could grow in a pot. Puts on a nice long flowering performance, and great to add that late summer colour to your patio displays, probably joined by the sedums which are just coming into flower around about the same time. So compact variety like this won't need any support, could look great in a patio pot. For planting in a border, you need a really sunny site. Kniphofias will tolerate a little bit of shade, but it probably won't flower as well, so a really good position in full sunshine would be ideal. The soil can be sandy and free draining, it must retain moisture. Doesn't want to be waterlogged, needs to have free draining soil, but something which will lock in some moisture as well. And when you plant it, don't plant too deep. Don't bury the crown of the plant or it can start rotting off. So try and plant it at exactly the same level as it's growing in its container itself. Don't plant it any deeper and don't bury it. They're pretty hardy. It is a hardy perennial, but in some areas it might get really cold in winter and need a bit of protection. So a slightly warm position in the garden, near a wall, in a sunny spot which catches the sun in the winter could be ideal. And being short and low growing, somewhere towards the front of the border would be great. And if you could put a backdrop behind it, maybe some shrubs or something to set off the flowering display, so much the better. It will show off those flowers in all their pristine beauty. Some varieties of Kniphofia have got an evergreen leaf. Not quite sure about this, whether these leaves will die down completely in the winter. If they do, you can cut the foliage off completely at the base, and it will grow new leaves next year. Some evergreen varieties, you actually tie the leaves up to stop the water getting into the crown of the plant over the winter. So I'll have to wait and see, but I think this is probably one that will die back. I'll cut these leaves off, and in the spring you'll get a new crop of leaves, and in the summer more flowers developing. And these lovely dwarf Kniphofias also make nice cut flowers. Just wait till the flowers have properly started opening, and then you could literally cut off that stem at the bottom and take these indoors to enjoy as cut flowers in the home. Lots more coming. That prompt deadheading really will encourage. Let me just turn the pot round here. Just more flowers developing. So some flowers here, the smallest one there. So a generous flowering performance from a nice, compact, upright variety. Once plants are really established, they're easy to propagate too. These are sort of clump forming hardy perennial, and they'll have a crown at the base which can be divided up. As I say, on many varieties these leaves will die down completely in winter, or they can be cut off at soil level. But come the springtime, you could divide this clump up. So once this one has become nicely established, after probably a year or two, you'll find that you've got several distinct groups of leaves developing. So you could actually, if it was in a pot, knock the whole thing out, divide it into two, each section with some new shoots probably about to develop, and a root ball. I'd probably do this right at the end of winter into early spring, so you can get it repotted and it will start straight into new growth. In the garden, just dig the whole clump out of the border with a decent sized root ball, divide that up into pieces, maybe just into two pieces, or if the clump's got very big and established, divide it into more sections, replant every one, keeping the level of the old root ball absolutely level with soil surface. Do not plant it any deeper. You don't want to cover that with compost, or it can start to rot, and then your one plant will turn into two or three or more, and you'll have some spare plants to move around your garden or to share with your friends.